Hello everyone, Richard here at Calvin Wazoo with another video for you. It's been a while. I haven't been doing a lot of them, but I've got a lot of records to talk about. So I'm going to be breaking my videos up into shorter videos that are more focused on similar music. And this one, as the title suggests, we're talking about African music and Saharan blues and African funk and also some African jazz. So let's get started with this first one here by the band Osabisa. This is their eponymous debut. And check that cover out. I mean, this is what really sold me, was the cover. Those are some badass elephants, aren't they? I tell you. In the back here, it's a gatefold. And it's got, these stickers on here, says sample copy. So this, I believe, was a DJ record for radio station. And they wrote in here, one of the songs is called Fallacy, which is spelled like phallus and then the letter C. And they wrote in here, everything except fallacy, which I don't know why they would do that. Anyway, yes, this is, we've got some serious African funk and soul here, also mixed in with some Caribbean rhythms. A lot of fantastic drumming that's going on here. And it was produced by Tony Visconti, who, if you recognize that name, was a significant producer with T-Rex, but also with David Bowie. Did a lot of albums with David Bowie, and he was also involved with many other records. When I was looking at this particular copy, and then I started looking at the track listings, I realized, of course this was after I bought it, but I realized one of the songs is called Iko Bia. And I remembered that song. I don't know if you remember in the 70s, there were these series of records that they had a white cover with kind of like a caricature on the front. And it was an album, that had a flap, so it was like loading from the top. And they did, it was usually a double album, I think. And I had them, they had one for Eric Clapton, they had one for Jack Bruce, they had one for Ginger Baker, they had one for Stevie Winwood, and I think they might have had one for Rick Gregg. So these were released after Blind Faith, and I had most of them. And I had the one for Ginger Baker, and there was a song on there called Iko Bia. And it has, an amazing drum solo. Ginger Baker, amazing drummer. So, yeah, that was really interesting that, it, came from this particular group. So they are from, let's see, they're from Ghana and Antigua and Trinidad and Nigeria, but they recorded this in the UK, and that's where they got together, was in the UK. And so, so they hooked up with Tony Visconti, and I've got a couple needle drops here for you to show again the flavor of, especially with the percussion, and also the second needle drop is the beginning of Iko Bia. So from the eponymous debut by Osabisa. going to move into Saharan blues. All right. So if you're familiar, I've been like talking a lot and raving about Mdou Moctar. And there is another band that I'm really keen on called Taureg. And in fact, I'm going to be seeing them in a few days here in Chicago. They'll be performing. So I saw this in the record store. This is another new band, and it is a debut for them. All right. So this is Itran de l'air Agadez. And Agadez is the city in Niger that I believe that's where Mdou Moctar is from. And this was there in the store, and I thought, okay, yeah, I'm going to give this a check. And this is really, really good album. Again, very much the same style as Mdou Moctar. You can hear the similarity in the style of music. I mean, when you think of some styles of music, I guess, I started thinking maybe people will think it kind of sounds all the same, but it's a traditional style of playing. So everybody is playing, that style. It's like the blues, there's different songs and arrangements in the blues, but it's still pretty much the same style of playing, I guess, is what I'm getting at. This is the same thing here with this Taureg style of playing. And what you hear is they use a lot of triplets and 6/8 time signatures. So you're going to hear that, especially with the drummer. He's going 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3. So a lot of the songs are going to be built on that basic rhythm. And this particular group, does the same thing. They play a lot of weddings, which is a lot of these bands, the Taureg bands. That's what they do. They play a lot of weddings, and it's really amazing music. So this is on the Sahil Sounds label. And so I've got a needle drop for you on this one. The band Itran de l'air Agadez. So you can hear, that style coming through. It's very recognizable. And another one who is playing that, I've talked about a particular record that I picked up in a previous video by the Rough Guide series, and it was the music of Mali. And one of the people that are featured on that record is a fellow by the name of Ali Farka Touré. And he's considered like the godfather of the Saharan blues. And also featured on that record was a track by his son. And then I saw this record recently in a store, so I grabbed it. So yeah, this is Vu Farka Touré, which is Ali Farka Touré's son. And excellent album. There's so much more of this is beginning to show up in stores. because they are getting some great distribution from the record companies and some great representation. And he is considered one of the, well, his father is like the father or grandfather of Saharan blues. They're throwing, he's a little more psychedelic, very much like Mdou Moctar. Mdou Moctar's playing, though, is much more, I don't want to say showy, but he's definitely a lot more dynamic. That's the wrong word, too. But the Vu Farka Touré, his playing is just really, really incredible. It's just a little more subdued and subtle, not quite as flashy as, let's say, Mdou Moctar. I mean, you listen to Mdou Moctar and you know you are listening to someone who has a really special gift. And Vu Farka Touré does also. It's just not quite as intense, let's say. Excellent record. So if you do like the Taureg and the Saharan Desert Blues, you definitely want to check this out. And I've got a sample for you. Really, really amazing music. Now we're going to move into something different, and that is Ethiopian jazz. All right, there used to be this series of CDs called Ethiopics, and there was like 30 CDs in this series. Really, really amazing music, and it's all music that's coming from Ethiopia. And recordings that were done in the 70s and clubs and just some really amazing live playing and live music. Well, they're reissuing a lot of this material on vinyl now, I think, perhaps for the first time. I was unaware that it was ever on vinyl. It was always on CD as far as I could tell, and not that easy to find in stores. You had to maybe go into Discogs and find somebody who was selling them. But then I saw these in the store. I got two, and I grabbed them for sure. The first one here is this one, Ethiopian Soul and Groove. All right, so we've got, the bands that are playing on this. So this is a compilation, and then it identifies the four CDs here from the Ethiopics series that these tracks are taken from. And I'm not going to try and even play these, say these Ethiopian names. But yeah, it looks like there were 23 CDs in the series, so not quite 30. And this comes from Ethiopics number 3, number 8, number 13, and number 14. So you can see those identified there. And so, yeah, I'm playing a track for you from this. really amazing records. Some of the songs are instrumentals, and many of them, though, do have singers. But yes, this was club music that was being played in Ethiopian clubs in the let's see, I'm thinking around the 1970s. Well, yeah, the CDs look like they contain music from roughly 1969 to 1975. So I don't know what particular songs, but it's come from what year, but that's the general era. Excellent. So these are available now in stores. And then one more is this one here. All right, this is Alamehu Eshet. And so this record, also taken from various Ethiopic releases, is all one artist, all right? So the other one was a compilation of a variety of artists, and this one is all from this particular singer, Alamehu Eshet. Again, really amazing. And the name, I guess the name of this particular release is Heavenly Sweetness. But yeah, this was taken from 4 of the Ethiopics. And it looks like the music comes from, yeah, from 1972, 1973, 1975, 1976, and 1977. So that's where we're getting these from. And oh yeah, all by they're not all written by Eshet. Some of these are written by other singer-songwriters, but the performances are all by this guy Eshet. So here's a listen for this particular record. Really amazing material. Really glad that I have these records now in my collection. Love listening to them. I've been spinning them for the past couple of weeks, continuing to listen and familiarize myself with the music. Great finds. So check it out, because like I say, if you've ever heard of the Ethiopics series, you should look for these records, because they're culling from those CDs and doing these special issues. So it's been a while also since I talked about a book. And so I recently finished this book here by Stevie Van Zandt, an autobiography called Unrequited Infatuations. Really, really interesting book. Not only talks about Stevie Van Zandt, and the fact that he was in the television series The Sopranos, that he was kind of behind the idea of Netflix having its own content in terms of series. And so he developed the series Lillehammer, which was a Norwegian drama that was kind of sprang out of The Sopranos, I guess you could say. But it also talks about his influence in terms of how he was involved. He played a significant role in breaking down apartheid in South Africa. Good stories in terms of his relationship with Bruce Springsteen and the different bands that he put together. Very enjoyable read. There's a little vignette in there and how Van Zandt talked Bob Dylan out of doing a cover release that was like music by the Byrds and things like that. And Stevie Van Zandt said, no, don't do those covers. Go back to your roots. Do covers of, old folk music, like the way you started, and then that's how Bob Dylan came up with Good As I've Been to You and Under a Red Sky, those two releases, which were going back to his roots. So good stuff. I recommend the book. So this is Unrequited Infatuations by Stevie Van Zandt. And so there you go. Hope you enjoyed that. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and leave a comment in the Down Under. If you know of any other particularly Saharan blues bands or Taureg bands or records that are out there. I have really been diving in and exploring this music. It's just really, really amazing stuff. Really enjoying it. Looking forward to seeing Taureg this coming week here in Chicago. But as always, remember to, oh yes, don't forget that I am on Instagram as NewsDude76. That's NEWZDUDE76. And remember to pray for the people inside your head, for they won't be there when you're dead.